Hi, this is Dr. Eric, reminding you to check the link below to get your copy of the PDF that accompanies this Masterclass video. Thanks. Dr. Eric, Chiro Chiropractic, and today we're going to be talking about the relationship between diet and chiropractic. Here we go. Chiropractic and nutrition, for me, they tend to go hand in hand. Chiropractic is a profession that promotes healing without the usage of medication, injections, or surgery. So we basically allow the body to heal itself. The body is its own pharmacy and it has potential to do it on its own. Sometimes it needs a little bit of a nudge. Spinal adjustments from a chiropractic sense, as well as nutrition, what that does is that helps to get us there, and it also, more importantly, helps to keep us there. So one is good, but both are better. With nutrition, people who are nutritionally mindful, they tend to get the best chiropractic results. And the reason being is because they adjust the easiest, they stay in alignment the longest, and they tend to have the most longest lasting results because they are nutritionally conscious about their bodies internally. There's a term that I had come across before called health-seeking behavior. This is a really, really neat term because you're someone who's seeking out healthy options and lifestyles, and you're constantly seeking out the next thing that's going to help you, to continue your longevity. Right? So these are people that typically have never been to smokers or choose not to smoke. They have a very strong regimen of exercise. They monitor their alcohol intake. They monitor their sugar consumption. They monitor their caloric intake as well. And they also observe their posture as well. So these are the people that are very, very health conscious in many steps of the way. They have a very well-rounded wheel in terms of their own health care about themselves. And they're also very in tune with their body. So when something isn't right, these are the people that are the first to either book a chiropractic appointment, or they'll modify what they're eating to see if they can rule something in or something out based upon what they had eaten the night before. All right, so the health-seeking behavior, again, it's a term that I really, really like, because when you look at health on a continuum, there's only so many things that you can do. You're either going to prolong your longevity or you're going to be able to prevent death. Right? So because we're not able to do the latter, what people are always looking for is they're looking to say, how can I prolong my life? How can I live longer but more quality in my life, as opposed to being 100 and something years old, but I have pills to make me wake up, pills to make me go to the bathroom, pills to go to sleep, someone has to feed me, someone has to bathe me, and things like that. To me, that's not a lifestyle that promotes quality. Yes, you got the longevity card, but there's no quality there. So you want to make sure that you have quality years of living for as often as possible. You want to be able to be independent as much as possible. You want to be able to do as many things for yourself independently as possible as well. Chiropractors, they know a lot about nutrition. As part of our chiropractic education, we are exposed to a lot of nutrition courses, everything from the micronutrients to the macronutrients. We're looking at a lot of the ways that nutrition influences the body. And we also have available a lot of resources that allow us to provide patients with nutrition-specific education and advice, right? So don't just do a Google search, come to a chiropractor, because what they're going to do is they're going to be able to point you in the right direction and say, here's where you need to go, or here's some stuff on this. Or a patient might say, tell me more about being gluten-free, or tell me more about keto, tell me more about going up paleo. I've heard of this thing called lectins. What are lectins? So you could do a Google search, but your doctor of chiropractic is going to be able to point you there faster. You're going to be able to have a nice, easy way of dialogue, and your chiropractor, more importantly, is going to be able to take a potentially a complicated concept and kind of distill it down into its basic components. That we have an understanding right from the get-go, and then you can start to ask more deep diving questions once you understand the material a little bit better. When we look at chiropractic care as it relates to nutrition, sugar and inflammation, those are big ones that we address in our office all the time. Like I'd mentioned before, people who practice health-seeking behavior, they tend to adjust the best and have the best results. Those who are kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum, they're living the traditional sad American diet, which is your pro-inflammatory foods. They're calorically dense but nutritionally poor. These are patients that I see that come in more frequently with the same problems. These are the people that say, I don't hold my alignment. You know, I was feeling good, but you know, my pain came back a couple of days later. And one of the reasons why is because when you're someone who has a high inflammatory diet or someone who's consuming a lot of sugar, you're exposing your body to poor dietary practices. So what ends up happening in these is your sodas, your fast foods, your carbs, your sugar-laden snacks. What that does is that creates an internal inflammatory response to the body. So now what you're doing is you're making your body work harder than it needs to, and it's already working hard enough, but now you've added an extra couple of chores to that honey-do list of your body. So your body's like, geez, now I've got 10 more things that I have to do, and I can't do it all in a day. And that's when your health starts to sacrifice. You're not as resilient to healing. Things take a lot longer. The analogy that I like to give is, think of a mom or a dad who's constantly picking up after their kids, right? The house is always going to be a mess because they're constantly reacting to the chaos that's happening, and that's what's going on internally with your body when you're exposing it to poor dietary practices. So again, if you can kind of clean up your diet a little bit, it's going to be beneficial for your body in the long run, and we're going to talk about how we're going to get you there. When we look at nutrition and inflammation, we're looking at a bunch of different systems, but as chiropractors, we're looking at the nervous system. We're also looking at your circulatory system. So if there's a lot of internal inflammation that's going on in the body, your body's having to work harder. So your circulatory system, in terms of blood flow, when you have an injury or when your body's trying to heal from something, you're bringing in nutrition and you're removing metabolic waste in order to kind of help to clean up that system. So that's how the body starts to heal. But if you're constantly under stress and duress in terms of internal inflammation, that system becomes much less efficient, meaning you're more susceptible to injuries, you're more susceptible to getting colds. You know, your body just kind of feels more run down than someone who is promoting a little bit more health conscious. The nervous system talks to the circulatory system, just the way that the body's mapped out. It's actually quite neat. But what ends up happening is when the nervous system is also being bombarded with a pro-inflammatory state, the circulatory system is going to be a little bit less efficient as well. So what ends up happening is when your nervous system and the circulatory system are trying to talk back and forth to each other, it's like trying to call someone and leave a voicemail, but the inbox is full. So you keep calling, you keep calling, you keep calling, you keep calling. That's very exhausting for the body, and the nervous system eventually reaches a saturation point where the body's just like, all right, whatever, here's some pain, you deal with it, right? And these are the people that are chronically in pain, and the relief typically is short-lived because their body goes right back into that pain cycle. So that's what we try to interrupt through chiropractic care. So when we're looking at sugar and inflammation and as it pertains to chiropractic care, we're all basically living in a candy store. I mean, you can't go anywhere without seeing, high sugar candy, calorically dense, nutritionally poor food. We see it everywhere we go, and the temptation is always there. So, you know, society says, just give in, just go have the chips, just go have the candy bar. It's so easy to just kind of give in, but what we want you to do is we want you to observe. You know, we want you to say, you know, here's an action step. We want you to observe, you know, what you're eating, how often you're eating, when you're eating, things like that. If we can kind of keep a pulse on what's going on, we're going to be able to better help you make better and more sound nutritional choices. So we always say, kind of take a broad view, kind of look back a little bit and see what that typical food day looks for you. What's your water intake look like? Are you someone who's skipping meals? Do you prefer dessert over dinner? Do you eat bigger meals at different times of the day? Do you kind of pick at breakfast, pick at lunch, and then have like a buffet for dinner and then go to bed with a full stomach and sleep like crap? You know, that's a problem because you're not being efficient with your sleep patterns, but we can modify that so you still get that caloric density in terms of food that your body needs, but we just kind of position it at better times for your body so that you can run a little bit more efficient. One of the key pieces of advice that I always tell my patients is we want you to start small, right? You don't need to blow up the dam and start afresh. Let's take some small steps, right? So what we want you to do is we want you to focus on one particular habit, and you call it a micro habit if you like, but we want you to pick something that's super, super easy. Don't overcomplicate it. This should be low-hanging fruit. What this is going to do is it's going to give you the greatest margin of success in terms of helping yourself out in the future. I don't need you to, eat a salmon salad and you spin class for 60 minutes a day and do 1,000 push-ups. I want you to start with one simple task, and that could be something as simple as add one more extra glass of water to your day, right? You know, it's super, super simple, super easy. But what's going to happen is once you've mastered that initial easy habit, what you're going to do is you're going to be able to add then a second habit on top of that, right? So now we've added water, we've added 1 cup of water, maybe we bumped it up to 2 cups of water. And then the third habit we would add is perhaps going to bed 30 minutes earlier at night, right? You want to prioritize a little bit of sleep in this example. Sleep is often overlooked, and it's going to give you the greatest return on your investment. So what we want to do is we want to give you micro habits that are very, very easy and very, very achievable, and you're going to have a higher rate of compliance. You know, something after that could be park your car a little bit further, take the steps as opposed to the elevator, walk after lunch if it's conducive and it's a nice day at work. These are some small tips that's going to really kind of help you make better food choices and health choices in the future. You know, now that you've got a couple of habits under your belt, then you can start to tackle some things that are a little bit more demanding, right? But we've mastered the basics first. You got to start with the basics. Supplements. Supplements are very, very important because a lot of people, there are misconceptions about supplements. They're not sure which ones to take, which ones are bogus, which ones are overpriced, which ones are overhyped. So this is when it's a good opportunity to talk to a chiropractor, because we're very well versed in many of the different supplement lines that are out there, and we know which ones are more trustworthy and are going to give you the best bang for your buck, and you're not just wasting your money. I had a colleague who would say, you know, we as North Americans have some of the most expensive urine. And what that means is that when you're taking a lot of supplements in excess, your body is going to filter them. It's going to use what it needs, but often we're oversaturated in certain supplements, so your body's going to excrete it. So now you have expensive urine. So you want to keep as much money in your pocket as possible and only buy the essential supplements that your body needs. Your body's pretty good at course correcting itself for the most part. Perhaps you need to eat a little bit more diversity in terms of your food. But supplements, as their name suggests, they're designed to supplement a diet. They're not designed to replace anything. You know, and another thing too is we don't want you to get caught up in the mindset of, oh, if I take fish oil, I can still drink my full sugar cola, right? You know, that's not a thing. Those two options are kind of at opposition. So you want to make sure you're kind of cleaning up basic habits first, so that fish oil that you're taking that's much more expensive than your cola is going to be much more effective, right? We don't want you to kind of take 2 steps forward and take 3 steps back and say, why didn't this thing work? It's not that it didn't work, it's just your body's so below baseline, we have to get you back up to baseline. In terms of what the supplements that your body needs, it really depends, and it depends on what you need, right? I can give you recommendations after I have a chat with you, but we also want to make sure that we know what your body needs. You know, what are you getting in your diet, and can we get a little bit more nutritional density from your diet, and we don't have to get you to take a supplement at all. That's always my preferred method. Is I always say to my patients, start with whole food first. You know, kind of broaden that palette. You know, eat the rainbow in terms of your vegetables. You know, try different protein sources, try different grain sources. Don't be afraid to mix and match. There's a lot of great websites out there that offer free cookbooks and free recipes. You know, some of them are low calorie options that still give you that full body taste, but they're more calorically dense. So you might want to have mac and cheese one day. Well, someone has invented a mac and cheese that tastes almost as good as the real thing, but has, we'll say, 1/3 less the calories. And that's of interest to a lot of people, because you can still have your cake and you can eat it too. Another thing we look at with supplements is, are you an athlete? What demands are you placing upon your body? When we look at an athlete, they're placing higher demands on their body than an office worker who's sedentary for the most part of the day. So what ends up happening is, because that athlete has a bigger demand on their body, we need to make sure that we're supplementing that particular person with things that are going to be anti-inflammatory for the body, and it's going to aid with sleep, it's going to aid with recovery, and it's going to aid with natural performance without giving them something that's on a banned substance list, because that's also important as well. We want to make sure that, you know, whenever anybody's taking supplements, whether it's Joe Average or if it's an athlete, you want to support healthy bones, you want to support healthy organ function, healthy muscle, healthy connective tissue, and healthy sleep as well. So what are my personal recommendations for basic supplement use? And this is very, very broad. Most people will do well with a fish oil. Fish oils are great for reducing inflammation, and it's going to help to offset some soreness into the joints and to the muscles as well. A probiotic is number 2 for digestive health, and that's going to kind of help with internal harmony of the body. I always say for probiotics, you want to rotate that every 6 months or so, because, you know, each bacteria, there's a strain, and in terms of our gut flora, your body will get used to that particular strain. So what you want to do is you want to kind of switch it up a little bit and give that internal environment something else to snack on, literally. Number 3, you want to take some vitamin D for healthy bones. Number 4, you're going to want to take an overall multivitamin. That's going to kind of help to be a catch-all. And then the 5th option is always going to be a case-by-case basis. So there's always a 5th one that someone will take, whether it's maybe something like zinc, maybe it's something like magnesium, maybe something like it's specific for joint support. That's why I leave that 5th option open, because that's when it really depends upon what you're doing for your body, what you're willing to eat, what you're not willing to eat. And if it's something that you're not willing to eat, but we need to get that supplement or that nutrient into your body, then that's when we would potentially look at supplementation for that particular person. Where do you buy your supplements? This is a great question. My answer to everybody is you always get what you pay for, right? So if you go to the Walmart and try to get the Walmart special, it's not going to cut it. Nor do you want to go to the opposite end of that spectrum and go to some expensive boutique-y, well-packaged, slick marketing, nutritional supplement that bolsters, things like, a fat burner or, cognitive booster, things like that, because they're making claims based upon the science of the product. But what they're not doing is they're not kind of giving you the whole picture, but they put those words that we're all gravitated towards, because they say, hey, I want that cognitive booster. I want that fat burner. I want that 6-pack abs or whatever the heck it is. So what ends up happening is when they put these bold statements on the label, that's something that you want to kind of look in the other direction for. A lot of reputable brands of supplements are starting to offer convenient packaging now. So like a fish oil, a multivitamin, some of the things that we mentioned previously, what they're starting to do is they're bundling them into a men's package, into a women's package, and they're also breaking it down by age as well. So that's a lot more convenient than maybe having multiple bottles on a shelf that you constantly have to open up and take every single day. If you're somebody who does do that, I recommend maybe buying one of those pill boxes, because what that does is once a week you can put all your supplements in, and then you can also see when you're starting to get low on a product should you need to reorder. So those are different options as well. Many chiropractors, they have brands that they represent in their offices, brands that they trust, brands that do excellent third-party research so that you're getting a good quality product. Many of the products that we represent in our chiropractic office, I'm able to contact the companies directly and say, hey, I had a patient who is curious about this particular probiotic for pregnancy. So the company will actually send me a PDF that I can actually give to the patient, or I can forward it to the patient by email and say, here's what the research shows. And because it's third-party tested and they really stand behind their products, I feel confident in the research that they give the patient, because it's all about sharing the information. I don't just say, well, here, take this one because I think it's good for you. I do the research for you so you can know that you're getting confident in a quality product when you're putting it into your body. Some chiropractors, they'll actually carry brands in-house, so you can actually kind of pick it up while you're receiving your chiropractic adjustment, which is a bonus. But a lot of chiropractors are also giving you the option of doing the online. So what can happen is if you're low on something on a Sunday, you can actually put in the order yourself and it'll be there within a couple of days. And that way the chiropractor's kept out of the loop, but you're taking that product and your body's continuing to adjust. Or if you're working specifically with your chiropractor and they're having you do a change, they might send you an email and say, hey, the next time you order a probiotic, I want you to switch to this one, and we're going to do that for 6 months, and then we're going to switch to this one again, right? So always be in communication with your chiropractor. To summarize, nutrition can be easy and convenient. You just have to begin at the beginning. Don't overcomplicate it. Make sure you're doing easy baby steps, make them snackable, but also have resources at your disposal. And that's where chiropractors come into the equation. Chiropractors are very, very good at kind of spotting the things and kind of spotting those in-betweens. So if you're someone who's taking a ton of supplements and you're spending a ton of money, but your nutritional habits are maybe below baseline, I'll actually say to you, I say, why are you spending all your money on supplements when you're eating like crap? And the patient will say, well, what do you mean? And I say, well, you tell me you eat like crap and you're taking these big expensive supplements, and you're not going to meet in the middle, right? If we kind of get rid of these, we can actually pull back potentially on some of those supplements, keep a little bit more money in your pocket, and actually help improve your internal body faster, which is also going to help them with their chiropractic care as well. A lot of chiropractors, what they'll do too, is if a patient is presenting with symptoms and concerns that go beyond the scope of the chiropractor to handle, they'll have resources like a dietitian or a doctor of osteopathy, people who are credentialed nutritionists who are able to kind of take, people who are going to do blood work, for example, we're able to get a little bit more into the weeds of what is specifically going on. And then what's going to happen is the chiropractor who ends up seeing the patient more frequently than maybe some of these other practitioners, they can say, how's that new supplement working? The person will say, hey, you know what, that gas and bloating that I have, totally gone. My system is a little bit more balanced. My energy levels have picked up. So it's a window for the patient to interact and communicate with the chiropractor as well as any other individuals that they might be working for. So that way you can kind of check in. So the call to action is if you or somebody you know has questions specifically about nutrition, if it's within my scope of practice, happy to have a chit chat with you. You can give us a phone call, or you can send me an email online. Happy to take a look at whatever's going on. And if it's something I can work with you specifically, we'll talk about it. And if not, I'll tell you where to go.